Over the last 7 years, I have used dozens of different email tools, especially because I've ran an email marketing agency for that time, and we've tried every tool under the sun. So in this video, I want to summarize the best email tools and put them in a tier list based on their pricing, how easy they are to use, their functionality in terms of segmentation, flows and automations, as well as reporting and everything else. So you don't have to waste your time and your money trying to figure out exactly what to use. You should get exactly that in this video. So first things first, let's jump into the first tool that everyone talks about, which is Mailchimp. Now, I want to get this out the way because there's a huge misconception that Mailchimp is one of the better players out there. I hate to say it, but that was about 3 or 4 years ago that they were even considered one of the better ones. I would personally stay away from Mailchimp. Now, here's a few reasons why. Number one, their pricing is sitting at $69 per month for every 5,000 contacts. It does start off free, but the price ramps up very quickly. Now, in saying that, they have a ton of pros, don't get me wrong. I think number one, they are the best user-friendly and beginner-friendly platform that there is. I have to give them that. It is very user-friendly. Anyone can figure out how to use it, and therefore it's great for small teams or teams just getting started out with email marketing. But I wouldn't necessarily jump the gun and start with them. Now, the second thing that I will say is they have great templates. It's very easy to start. Like I said, just download a few templates and build everything out without needing to know the specifics. But that's about where it ends. There are tons of cons, and one of the main things is that the pricing really does ramp up and you can't really justify it compared to what the other platforms give you. The second thing is it has very limited integration with websites and tools and apps, which is the number one thing that you need with an email marketing platform. You don't want a massive tech stack, and you need to make sure that everything works very simultaneously. This does not do that for you. The third thing that I will say, there's tons of limitations The third thing that I will say is that there are tons of limitations in terms of what you can do with segmentation and flows and automations, which greatly limits your ability to get revenue on this email marketing platform. And email is your most important marketing channel, arguably. So you don't want to neglect that just for a platform that seems easier to use. So I reckon that Mailchimp just falls into the D list. It is my least favorite platform. Next on the list is Moosend, which is arguably a better price, but not really great for functionality. $65 per month for 10,000 contacts, so it is definitely price efficient. And in that case, I would say that this is great if you're just starting out and you really want something that is budget friendly and you can't really push it. But I don't think it's really worth the sacrifice. While it has incredible pricing, and the second aspect being that it is incredibly great for small teams, I would say that's about where it ends. Unfortunately, it has a very outdated UI, and I have a sour taste in my mouth from when I used them previously for a client, and unfortunately it damaged our deliverability massively because they hadn't updated to their terms that Yahoo and Google needed, so therefore we suffered a lot. And lastly, as if it weren't enough, I think they have very weak segmentation, flows and integrations. So for me, it's just not really worth it, but because the pricing is better than Mailchimp and they're about equal in standing, I would say that this is about a C tier platform. I wouldn't recommend it, and I would rather wait until we talk about the other ones later on in the video. Now, moving on to another platform that I think is somewhat underrated, but also a bit overrated simultaneously, and it is a platform I used to use a lot, ActiveCampaign. Now, ActiveCampaign's pricing is sitting at $49 for every 5,000 contacts per month. This, to me, it just doesn't really compete, and I don't think you can justify that pricing. However, what I will say for them is they do have a few benefits. One of the things that a lot of the other platforms don't have is powerful automations and flows, and this is exactly where ActiveCampaign really thrives. I think if they found a way to integrate this a little better, it absolutely would be a go-to tool. But for now, that is not enough standing alone. And look, one of the other things that I think is very impressive is an inbuilt CRM system. And if you do email marketing, you know that it doesn't end there. There's a ton of tech stacks added onto that. You need a project management tool and a conversation tool and this and the next thing to manage everything. This, for the most part, can be done in one, but I would kind of avoid it just because it doesn't add up to the other platforms that we're going to look at later. And on top of that, I just don't think it outlives the cons of this. So number one being that I think there is a steep learning curve to figuring out this tool. I think it's very complicated. It's tough to get your grips around. It will take a lot of time. I don't think that's good for efficiency or a team that's starting with a new company or whatever it is. I just don't think it's worthwhile. The other aspect of that is it is a complicated UI. I don't think it's user-friendly at all, and that is part of the learning curve that you're gonna have to learn. And lastly, while they do have segmentation, it isn't very intuitive. So although there's some benefits of the CRM and having less of a tech stack, I think that the trade-off doesn't really make a lot of sense, and you would do better going on to one of the other platforms that I'll mention soon in this video. Now, with that being said, I have to rank this as a B tier platform. So let's move on to the next. Next is a platform that isn't necessarily the most popular, but surprisingly kind of competes very similarly to ActiveCampaign. And this one is GetResponse, which is $59 per month for every 5,000 contacts. So it's very competitive in pricing compared to Mailchimp and a few others. So let's go into a few of the benefits. Now, while this isn't specifically a tool for e-commerce companies, what I think they do really well is they have unique value adds. So one of the incredible features that they have is they have built-in webinars, which I think is incredible. It's very unique. I think I would love for a lot of the platforms to adapt that and add some diversity to their offering. And the second unique offering is they have built-in landing pages in terms of templates. So again, it works really well as a conversion metric, but it's not necessarily the best angle towards e-commerce, which is a fair enough trade-off depending on what your necessary needs are. And surprisingly, one of the other things that I love about them is they do have a great flow editor. I think it's very simplified, and it's something that I wish that the other platforms would adopt. It doesn't need to be complicated, and they do simplify it. However, in saying that, again, I think one of the cons being that it's not necessarily angled towards e-commerce. I think it needs that strengthened point, and e-commerce could use a platform like this, but it's not angled towards there. So obviously it's not the greatest if you do run a product-based company. And now while they have these great features of webinars and landing pages, I feel like they lack in the simple things. They don't have great segmentation, and unfortunately, because of all the added features, it feels very bloated. So in saying that, it doesn't really justify needing to use it. So I'm going to keep it around the B tier alongside ActiveCampaign. But it is a strong competitor, and if they can improve those things, I can see them being a very popular platform in the near future. But for now, they remain in the B tier. The next platform is probably one you were expecting me to talk about, which is Sendinblue, otherwise rebranded to Brevo. Now, Brevo actually used to be one of my favorite platforms. I think it has great usability, and especially before they rebrand, I used them a lot. Their pricing is incredibly competitive, especially because it's not based on contacts. The average price you're going to be paying is $65 for every 20,000 contacts, but they actually base it per email. And that is one of the strengths and the pros I would love to see a bunch of the other platforms adopt, is some kind of pay per email way of sending, so that the pricing is a little bit more affordable, people are more intentional with their sends, and I think it would actually benefit the companies a lot more than the platform itself. So with that, I think that is a unique pricing model. The second thing that kind of ties into that is it is very affordable. I genuinely think it is one of the more affordable platforms in comparison to the others that don't even compete, but they still want that massive price tag. I think they do an incredible job of that, especially when you take into consideration the third pro for me, which is that they integrate SMS simultaneously with the email. To me, this is a no-brainer. This is like a non-negotiable with the best of the best platforms. You have to have SMS somehow integrated if you want to be a well-rounded platform and a tool. And companies, again, they don't want to add to their tech stack. You certainly don't. So this is why I think Sendinblue has so much potential, otherwise known as Brevo. I think they have so much potential. But in saying that, there are a few cons. Now, while they have great features and they do have the segmentation and they do have flows and automations, what I do think is a weak point is while they have everything, it feels very clunky. I don't think it's the right UI that they could have. I think it could use a ton of improvements. And on that, I think they prioritize a few things differently, whereas the other platforms have way better segmentation. Their segmentation, in my opinion, is far too weak to justify the pricing and also to kind of lean towards. Although it's great for pricing, I think it's a great option for people. again, I don't think it's necessarily worth it with the way it functions as a platform as a whole. And frankly, one of the last things I kind of have to mention is they have very limited templates. I love a platform that gives you templates to work off of. Obviously, as an agency, we don't use any of that. But what I would say is a company coming in as a brand new company or just starting out with email, it is so much better to have ideal templates all ready to go so that you don't have to have this massive design team. They should handle a massive load of that. And for me, they don't touch on it. So that's why I would say that this is unfortunately a B tier and not necessarily an A tier platform. Now, one platform I would say though that is an A tier platform is actually Omnisend. Now, Omnisend, I think, has very competitive pricing. It's $59 for every 5,000 contacts. And for me, one of the biggest standouts for them is they are specifically targeted towards e-commerce, which means that they build their tech stack specifically for it. They think in terms of an e-commerce platform, what do they need, what do they want? And one of those strong features is the way that they integrate, the way that they have some integrations in place, the apps they have access to. I think it's everything that an e-commerce brand would need with email marketing. On top of that, similar to the other platforms, but how they kind of get it a little bit better is they do have SMS plugin and integration. So for me, they just kill it. I think it's very smooth. It is way less clunky than the other platforms, and they actually do it well. On top of that, their automation's incredible. I think they have incredibly well-built, pre-built templates for flows. Instead of you having to do all the thinking work yourself, they've already got pre-built flows, so you don't have to do as much of the thinking work. To me, that's a big difference. And the other benefit being, as if that weren't enough, they have incredibly user-friendly drag and drop options for creating emails, flows, and whatever else. That is a no-brainer, in my opinion. So it kind of comes to your, specification. But as great as that all sounds, there are some negatives that I cannot look past. One of the main things being that they just do not have the advanced segmentation that you would expect from a platform like this. I think they've nailed everything else, but compared to their main competitors in the S tier, this doesn't really rank up. So I would say as soon as they improve that, it will be an absolute no-brainer, the best of the best. And the second thing is they're lacking in this era of AI to add personalization, where its biggest competitors that I'm about to mention actually nail it down to the T. That's where they're lacking. They just need to stay on top of the competition that is surpassing them in these nuanced ways. So for me, great platform, A tier, but I think there's definitely better for your business. The next platform is actually Drip. Now, Drip is a unique one that I don't think many people have heard of, but it performs incredibly well. Drip is priced at $89 per month for every 5,000 contacts. And trust me, I know that sounds expensive. They do have their redeeming qualities. The first thing being that I think this is a great platform for creators and for marketers. I think that it is incredibly easy to use, and they have incredible designs as well. The designs to me is a way bigger added feature than a lot of people seem to talk about. It just minimizes your effort, and it's kind of like having Canva in an email platform, which to me is a great bonus. And on top of that, they have a very decent flow system as well as a tagging system. But with that being said, I have to say their pricing just does not justify what it is. I think if it were way lower pricing, it would hands down be one of the better platforms out there. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And to add on to that, unfortunately, it's lacking in its automations and its UI is not as intuitive as it could be. But I think that it really does compete with Omnisend equally, which is why I want to give it an A tier ranking as well. And that's why I would say that they're pretty even. And the other A tier ranking, surprisingly, is a tool called MailerLite. Now, MailerLite, again, it's not a familiar tool to a lot of people, but it performs in equivalent to the other platforms in this ranking system. Now, MailerLite is actually very budget friendly, sitting at $39 per month for every 5,000 contacts. To me, that is a great competitive price, and that's why I wanted to include them here, especially for everything you get. I think the UI is simple and way easier to use than tons of the other platforms. It's clean, it's simple, straight to the point, and that's what you need. It's also only email focused, which means there's no bloating, there's no clunkiness, and it does what you need it to. Sometimes being that focused and specific really does benefit you. And surprisingly, the last thing is they have really easy automations. So I would say this is great for beginners. This is great for smaller teams that really want to get going. But there is tons of negatives that I would say as well that outweigh it, but still keep it equivalent to the other platforms. First thing being, like I said, it's more intended for small teams, and the reason for that is because it's not really built for scale. And on top of that, it doesn't have the greatest segmentation functionality and also not the greatest flow functionality. Although it's easy and simple to build them out, I think it could use a lot of improvements. And one of the other things that some of the other platforms have, but I've never really mentioned, is they don't have the greatest reporting system. And to me, analytics is everything as a numbers person, and that's also what's going to inform my decision moving forward. But for now, that's what keeps this as an A-tier platform in line with Omnisend and some of the others. But now we're coming to the S tier, and the first S tier that I can hands down say is a no-brainer is HubSpot. Now HubSpot is at around $800 per month for the full functionality, and I understand that is way steeper than any of the other pricing that we've heard. But in saying that, I think it is incredible for scale. It is a completely built-in CRM on top of everything. So, and they don't make it clunky, it's still user-friendly. Sometimes it can be a little bit complicated, but overall, if you're running a massive team and you are a little bit more B2B focused, this is really the benefit. I think that this is the platform to choose for B2B specifically, whereas the next platform is more B2C. And this one, hands down, I think is very simple. They have incredible automations and flows and follow-up systems. They have an incredible UI system. You can manage everything in one place without it being clunky. It's just pretty much a no-brainer. And I think one of the other things that is very overlooked is their reporting system. Their reporting system is incredible. It's beautiful. It shows you everything that you need. And on top of that, the platform integrates with absolutely everything. So for me, it just makes sense. But one of the biggest negatives, as you heard from the pricing, it is very steep and it is expensive. Now, while I think that suits big businesses at scale, especially on the B2B front, I don't think that it's absolutely necessary for smaller companies. I think it's actually overkill. It shouldn't even be an option for newer companies or companies doing less than, let's just say, $500,000 per month. I think it is built for scale, managing big teams and building it out in one place. And one of the other negatives is, although it's kind of in line with the pricing, I think that a lot of their features are locked behind a paywall, which makes it very difficult to actually use it. It scales up that pricing very quickly. So for me, incredible platform. And if the pricing was a little bit more competitive, it would compete a lot better. But in saying that, it's the top of the game. It's an S tier for me without a doubt. And look, my favorite platform is Klaviyo. I have no affiliation with them, but it's quite frankly the one platform we switched to from about 3 or 4 years ago. We made it absolutely compulsory that every client that works with our agency switches over to Klaviyo. The reason being is endless. But the first thing is their pricing. Their pricing is very competitive, although it can get expensive with big companies. It is only $60 for every 5,000 contacts. And keep in mind, that is including SMS and email, which is why I think it is one of the best competitive pricing that you will hear. And the pros are endless. Number one, I think it's the most user-friendly platform that you will use in your lifetime regarding email, at least right now. I don't think there's even a near competitor to how easy it is to navigate. Everything is listed on the left. You can navigate to your reports, which are incredibly cleanly the absolute best reports that I've seen. It shows you the revenue, it shows you your deliverability all in one place, and you can make informed decisions based on that with their AI predictive models. And that's the other benefit. I think they have incredible deep personalization available with the AI Move, and they're capitalizing on it incredibly well. The other benefit is their flows, automations, and integration is hands down the best of the best. The other platforms do not even come close. They integrate with every app, every tool, and especially with Shopify, WooCommerce, and BigCommerce, they have the best integration I've seen among their platforms. And we work with companies that are doing well over $1.8 million per month in email revenue alone. And to me, that is why we need the best of the best. And this, quite frankly, is exactly that. The segmentation goes in depth. You can create segmentation based on categories of purchases. You can base it on predicted purchases. So people that the AI thinks will make a purchase in the next few days. So you can nurture them, you can prompt them, you can upsell them. So the usability of this is endless. Incredible templates, incredible segmentation. Everything is just clean. It is the best platform. And look, don't get me wrong, I think there are some negatives. I think that the pricing is unrealistic and sometimes it's very difficult to manage. But in saying that, if you have a list size of over 10,000 people and you're paying that massive price, let's just say $120 for your 20,000 contacts or 10,000 contacts, with the price can really ramp up, but you should see a return from it without a doubt. So there's never been a client that we've worked with that has this massive list size, unless it was unqualified, that has never seen a return tenfold minimum. So I think it is really worth it. And one of the other things, they haven't necessarily built in these CRM systems or these landing page systems that some of the other platforms have. But I think that they do what their core value is, which is email marketing and SMS perfectly well. And that's why I would recommend them. And now look, before I kind of finish off the video, obviously this is an S tier, if not an S plus tier. And what I would say is, if you run a business, trust me, consider them. And if you're looking for an agency to come in and work with you, so you don't even have to do the thinking work that I just gave you in this video, then go down below, book in a call. We work on a guarantee and performance only, so that you have no risk working with us. And if you just want to go ahead and start using Klaviyo, then I've left a link down below instead of you having to search it. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.